Welcome back. You're watching One on One. We're talking with Nobel Peace Laureate Elie Wiesel, author and activist. We were talking about your time in Auschwitz and the horrors you went through. Now, once you got to France, you rebuilt your life. You became a journalist, writing for French and Israeli papers. Where did you find the strength to be able to go on and actually build that new life?
You know, people ask, how did you survive? I don't know how, really. Believe me, I have no idea. After my father died, something in me died, and I let myself live. But kept me sane is the question, really. How come I remain sane? And there I have an answer. It's my passion for study. I go on studying. The moment I came to France, I studied. And to this day, I'm a student. I'm a teacher because I'm a good student. And what is the alternative? To give in to despair? Despair is not an answer. Despair is a question. To give in to resignation? Of course not. Resignation is the opposite of culture. And I believe in culture. In spite of everything, what human beings have done to my people, but to other human beings, I believe in the humanity of the human being. I have problems with God. That's because I believe in God. If I stopped believing in God, I would have no problems. But I do believe, and therefore I have problems, and I go on. I have the right, if I were alone, totally alone, I would have the right to give in to despair. But I'm not alone. And therefore I have no right to give in to despair. I must, to quote Camus, I must invent hope where there is none. Not for my sake, but for the sake of the children, of my students, of their future, and their ambitions and their aspirations.
Now, it's interesting. I spoke once to Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who went to Dachau, and he said he remembered that above the gates of Dachau it says, "Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it." You, for 11 years after the World War II ended, didn't write or speak about what you went through.
10 years, exactly.
Yeah, about
I
10
made a
years,
vow,
10 years.
really. I made a vow.
Why? What was the reason for that?
I knew I was going to write to bear witness. I felt I knew I had to, because not to bear witness to an event that one lived is a betrayal of that event. I didn't know how. I was afraid of not finding the words. And I come from a mystical background where one can purify language through silence. And that's why really I was waiting for 10 years. So during the 10th year, I wrote it.
And when you finally did the piece, you did it in Yiddish first, I understand. It was a good sort of 900 odd pages or something.
That's because of my background. I come from a Yiddish background. At home we spoke Yiddish. And out of sentimentality, and I love Yiddish. I still write Yiddish for the Yiddish paper.
Then you wrote it in French, or it was
translated.
It was
translated,
yeah.
Yes.
La Nuit, and then into English the night, or night. You had a hard time getting it published initially. Was that disconcerting?
Oh, no. Let's say I was afraid for the second one. The first one, okay. Once I had the first one, I wanted to write more. And I was afraid I won't find a publisher for the second. It was rejected literally by every major publisher in France and every major publisher in New York. So, okay, I felt the world isn't ready for my witness. Too bad.
You had more troubles when you got to New York in 1956, I think a year after you'd arrived. You were hit by a taxi.
A few months after I arrived.
It was just a few months after. And then you were in hospital and, you know, pretty much in a bad shape for about a year. Tell me how Golda Meir, the foreign minister as she was at the time of Israel, ended up looking after you.
Because I was a journalist and working for an Israeli paper. At that time it was the poorest paper in Israel. Now it's the richest, Yediot Achronot, the richest. It became rich when I left it.
But not because you left, I hope.
Who knows? You know, destiny. But and I was on crutches. And Golda thought I was an Israeli, actually. I never lived in Israel. She thought I was an Israeli. And she even thought I may have been a war invalid because I was on crutches. And she felt so sorry for me that she said, "Come on, I cannot see you like that. If you need more information, come every evening. You come to my hotel, the Essex Hotel, and I will give you the news," which I would do. I came every day. She would prepare omelets for me occasionally. And then she found out I was not an Israeli. She couldn't believe it. I speak Hebrew. I learned Hebrew when I was a child. She said, what do you mean?
And that friendship remained for a long time?
It remained until after the war, really, after the Yom Kippur War. She couldn't understand why I felt that war went wrong, and I never interfere in other nations' affairs, surely not in Israel's affair, but I felt that some people were unfairly judged. And she felt that she was judged unfairly, but not by me, but by the others, and I didn't take her side because, again, who am I to take sides? So therefore there was a little bit a tension between us, but we remained yet in touch until the end.
How important was it for you when you became a US citizen in 1963? What sort of turning point?
I felt really elated. I never had a passport in my life. In France I was stateless. And here in America, finally I became a citizen. I cannot tell you what I felt really. I felt so proud. The highest honor I received, let's say, in universities is nothing compared to the fact that I had a passport. I never left it. It's in my pocket. I don't travel anywhere. I don't move without a passport. I have it now in my pocket. So it felt good. And you know, to be an American, to be born in America is one thing. Then that person takes America for granted. For a refugee, a stateless person who comes to America and becomes a citizen, it means something.
Well, you ended up with the Nobel Peace Prize, talking of awards, in 1986. When the Norwegian Nobel Committee gave you that, they said it's because you were a messenger to mankind. What do you believe that message to be?
Oh, you know, I fought indifference. I mean, I really think that's what they meant. I believe indifference to evil is tantamount to evil. Evil is possible only because of those who are indifferent to it. And when evil gets power, one surely has no right to be indifferent. And this is my work as a teacher or as a writer or as a human rights activist, to sensitize the other. A person who is not sensitive to the other person's pain or joy, something is wrong with that person. I think that is probably what I want to give of myself.
As a person, you are a mentor. Who are your mentors? Who are the people who have inspired you in the past?
Depending on the century, you know, my mentors are those who are no longer alive. My teachers are Plato and Moses or the medieval thinkers. Today, I surely believe Mandela is not a mentor because he's a colleague almost, you know. But people like him, those who work today for other people, to be free is important. So I believe in that, to give what we can and to give what we are.
But what do you consider to be your defining moment? Or defining moments?
Moments, oh, listen, to go to places where people live under oppression and see a child and make that child smile, that is a defining moment for me.
Let me ask you about your teaching, because you say that one thing that's kept you sane in your life is studying, but you're also a teacher, and you obviously enjoy teaching.
I love teaching.
Is that something you'll do indefinitely?
Absolutely. I really hope that till my last day it's most rewarding.
Apart from all the giving, obviously, you have to have some time for yourself. Do you find personal time?
Yes, I read. I love reading. A good writer must be a good reader. I love music, classical music. I love to listen to it. And when I write, I always have music in the background. My family is very important to me. My wife, who is always at my side. My son and his wife and his son. Something is happening there. You know, when I see my little baby, a 1-year-old kid. And the moment he arrived, he simply conquered me. Well, so I love that.
Is there anything in your life you want to achieve that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Sure, but I would like to really, I was in Washington during the ceremony for the Oslo Accords. Didn't turn out well. I would like to attend a ceremony between free Palestine with Israel, a durable one, a lasting one, a real one. That would be a very important moment for me.
The Germans tattooed the letters and numbers A7713 on your left arm when they took you to Auschwitz, effectively branding you forever with that time in history and branding you as a Holocaust survivor. And that's how people will remember you, apart from your activism. But what would you like your legacy to be?
As a witness. Just that, as a witness. As a teacher, I'm a witness. When I give what I learned to others, when I give my memory to those who need memory, when I give words to those who need words, that's all the role of the witness.
Elie Wiesel, God bless. Wish you a long life.
Thank you very much. Thank you.